Hi everyone, Jesse here with eTrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at, and I'll show you how to install the Curt Custom Fit trailer wiring on our 2020 Kia Sorento. Trailer wiring is just one of those things that is absolutely essential if you want to be safe and legal while towing. I'm also seeing a lot of accessories that have lights on it, and you'll need a 4-pole to plug into that to make those work properly. What trailer wiring is for as far as towing is it will send a signal from the tail lights to the lights on your trailer to get those to function properly. So that means your tail lights, your turn signals, and your brake lights. Here's a closer look at our wiring installed on our neighbor's vehicle. As you can see, we're just using the dust plug to loop it around our safety cable loop, which is perfectly fine. That's usually how we set them up. If you wanted a more permanent solution, you could get a couple brackets to have it mounted up here. But as far as the wiring goes, it's just your standard 4-pole plug that's going to plug into any of your standard 4 poles on your trailer or accessory. And as I said, it does come included with a dust cap to protect it from road debris and corrosion. If you have any questions or concerns about this trailer wiring or anything else we offer here at eTrailer, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to get you pointed in the right direction. As for the installation, it does involve removing the tail lights and then running a wire from the back of the vehicle up to the front where your battery is. So if that's not something that you're looking to do yourself, check out our dealer locator. You can find someone local to you that would be happy to get you set up. If you are looking to see how this gets installed, then just follow along and I'll walk you through the process. We'll begin our installation inside of our vehicle. We need to remove our tail light, but there's 2 bolts holding it in. And those bolts are behind this plastic panel. So I'm just using a plastic trim tool to pop it out. And then these nuts that we're removing are 10 millimeters. Once we have those removed, we can start working our tail light out. It's just held in by 2 kind of push pins in the front. So once you finally break those loose, we'll turn our tail light around, and we need to unplug this. So we'll just push in on the tab, and that'll separate it, and we'll set our tail light aside. Now what we'll do, in order to route our plugs up into our pocket here, I just ran some airline tubing down through this hole, and I taped our plugs off. I taped them like this just because if you tape them together, it's going to be one big piece that you have to pull up through a pretty tight spot. So I'll just work this up into position, and then it'll take a little bit of wiggling to get it to come up. But once we're up, we can undo our tape and start plugging into our tail light. Now we'll take the female end of our new plug and push it into our factory wiring. We can grab our tail light and plug this into that. And then I'll get our tail light reinstalled. Now we're going to remove this plastic cover on the side here. So there's a couple of push pin fasteners. If you use a flathead screwdriver, you can pop the center out and then pull the whole thing out. And then we have 2 14 millimeter nuts, which this one's kind of tricky to get to. You'll need a long extension if you have a hitch installed at least. Sometimes it helps to pull down while you're unthreading it, and we'll set that aside. Now we'll take our white wire with the ring terminal, that's our ground wire, and we just need to attach this to some solid metal. So really anywhere is good. I'm using the included self-tapper, and I'll drive this in. Now our black wire coming off of our box here, what we need to do is extend this out so we can run it towards the front and attach it to our battery. So I'm just using a heat shrink butt connector, which your kit will come with regular butt connectors, but since we're installing this outside the vehicle, I definitely recommend getting some heat shrink butt connectors to prevent any water from getting in there. But I'll crimp that down and extend that out. As for the black box, we're just going to bundle up our wires and zip tie it to the wiring harness here. And then our green plug, we'll have to route that to our passenger side taillight and fish that up the same way we did the driver's side. Now I'll walk you through my routing with my power wire. We went up above our subframe here. Our main goal while we're headed towards the front is to stay away from any hot or moving components. So just keep an eye out on that. We just stayed up above everything here. And then I took this panel down. There's just a few 10mm bolts holding it in place. And we basically just follow this panel all the way until here, and we're coming out by our brake lines and fuel lines. So what I'll do is do that same airline trick from inside the engine bay and pull that wire up. So I routed my wire up into our engine bay here, and I'll cut off some of the slack and strip the end of that. And so we are connecting this to the battery, but we need to put a fuse in between it. So you have a fuse holder. It's going to come just as a loop. All you have to do is cut it about halfway through. On one end, crimp on your ring terminal. On the other, once again, I'm using a heat shrink butt connector. So we'll make our power wire connection here. Just crimp that on. And as far as our connection to our battery, there's a 10mm nut that we can remove. And then we'll slide our ring terminal onto this post and tighten this down. Now we're ready to install our fuse. Just simply line up the tabs with the slots, firmly press it in, and close your cap. Now we're ready to test everything. I've hooked up a 4-pole tester, which we do have available here at eTrailer, or you can use a test slide or just hook up to your trailer. We just want to make sure that everything's working before we hit the road. We'll start with our tail lights, turn signals, and our brake lights. Now that we know everything's functioning properly, we can finish buttoning everything up and tucking some wires if we need to. But other than that, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Curt Custom Fit trailer wiring on our 2020 Kia Sorento.